The legendary Pele of the king sport. After a period of fighting illness, king of football Pele passed away at the age of 82. However, in the hearts of fans around the world, Pele is an immortal legend because of the greatness he created himself. Go out. Pele number 2, no one number 1. Birth, old age, illness, death is an immutable law of life and Pele is no exception. At dawn on December 30, Vietnam time. The king of football has passed away at the age of 82. But for many generations of football lovers, Pele did not die, but simply came to the team in heaven. And in the hearts of fans around the world, Pele is immortal, the number 1 of all time despite his fame and the one who created the definition and special meaning for the number 10 shirt. When Pele was still playing football, the technology was still very outdated, so most of the footage of Pele players was quite small. Clips of Pele's skills are so rare that fans of the last few generations are probably also skeptical of Pele's greatness. As a result, more Maradona fans watched him shine at the 1986 World Cup and score the best goal in World Cup history. But remember, numbers are sometimes not lifeless at all. It is no coincidence that Pele scored 6 goals in Sweden at the age of 17 to help Brazil win the World Cup for the first time in 1958. There is also no luck better than wise when Pele is currently the only player in history to win the World Cup 3 times. When the little boy Pele scored 2 goals against the host Sweden in the 1958 World Cup final, many people in Brazil did not even know what Pele's face was like or witnessed with their own eyes the talent of the Super Pele. To what extent? People with conditions can also listen to reports via radio. Many others heard. People with conditions narrated. Of course, word-of-mouth stories are always woven to become more attractive. After the 1962 World Cup continued to be the champion but did not contribute much due to injury, Pele shone brightly at the 1970 World Cup. Carlos Alberto is the captain, but Pele is the true leader to create a Brazil so flamboyant that it is considered the greatest champion in the history of the World Cup. People's tears create king of football. On October 23, 1940, the family of Mr. Dondinho and Mrs. Celeste Arentz welcomed a new member. The first son cried out on the day Três Coracoes town, Minas Gerais state in southern Brazil got electricity. Of course, everyone knows the famous American inventor Edison and so does Pele's family. Hence, Pele's birth name was Edson Arentz do Nascimento. But for some reason, Pele's name is missing the I and only Edson remains. Of course, that only made the story of Pele more interesting, even though he later claimed to admire Edison. Mr. Dondinho is a former Fluminense player and like many Brazilians, he always dreamed of seeing his hometown football team win the World Cup. In 1950, Brazil was the host of the World Cup and they were only one match away from the crown with Uruguay. The Maracana Stadium on July 17, 1950 with a capacity of 200,000 seats was full of spectators. All believe that Brazil, even if it only needs to be drawn, will convincingly defeat Uruguay to become the first World Cup champion. In the 47th minute, Friaca opened the scoring for Brazil and every Brazilian thought, the Golden Goddess Trophy, also known as the Jules Rimet Cup, would belong to them. But Schiaffino, 66 minutes, and Gija, 79 minutes, scored to help Uruguay come upstream to win the final 2-1. Brazil was disappointed to see the opponent celebrate the victory, and the country of samba that day was like a national mourning. Mr. Dondinho was originally considered a warrior, a brave man. Like his nickname could not hide his infinite sadness. He cried a lot with excruciating pain, and Iko, Pele's nickname given to him by his family as a child, was the one who tried to comfort his father. The content of Pele's story with his father, only two people know. But surely, there is one detail that was later told by an insider, that is, Pele promised to do his best to help Brazil become the World Cup champion. Saying it, doing it, after 8 years, although not yet 18 years old, Pele shone brightly, helping Brazil to win the crown, and this was also the first mark for him to become the greatest legend of football. In fact, Pele's original dream was to become a pilot. But everything changed after an incident when Pele witnessed a plane crash. That made Pele change his mind and also created a historic turning point for world football. Mr. João Ramos do Nascimento, who is Dondinho, probably also cried a lot on June 29, 1958. But those were happy tears, when his eldest son Pele brought the ultimate glory to Brazilian football. Everything later, but we all know, and or to put it simply, the rest is historical. The pair of players and longtime friends Pele, Maradona. To this day, the story of who is the greatest player of all time still creates a lot of conflicting debate. The football world has countless legends such as Beckenbauer, Cruyff, Müller, Eusebio, Zico, Platini, Zidane, Camps, Matthäus, Fat Ronaldo. Past and present are Messi, Ronaldo, who are still playing football. But Pele and Maradona are the two most prominent people, the most compared, and there are also many anecdotes about them. Because they were not born in the same generation, Pele and Maradona did not have the opportunity to confront each other on the pitch when they reached their peak. So, who is the best is a never-ending topic. The Spanish newspaper Marca commented upon Pele's death that the legacy they leave behind, the debates about them, or the question of who is the best will certainly continue with disagreements. In fact, both Pele and Maradona are brilliant. The difference between them is probably due to their personalities and lifestyles both on and off the pitch. Pele always plays with class, demonstrates superior technique and unique football thinking, as his compatriot Neymar himself affirmed when he was grateful to him. His senior has breathed life so that the number 10 shirt becomes an eternal value in football, not just a number. Maradona is also technical, also delicate, but he also shows very special emotions and possesses cunning tricks when playing. The match that made Maradona special was the match between Argentina and England in the quarter-finals of the 1986 World Cup. At that time, Maradona scored an invalid goal with his hand, and he later stated that it was a face merited by the hand of God. Still, Maradona, in the same match, had a goal so great that it is considered the best goal in the history of the World Cup finals. In real life, Pele is more mature than Maradona, showing the image of a model. Therefore, although Pele has 3 wives, has a rather complicated love life. But all were ignored by the fans, as they seemed to worship him in the fashion of an unblemished football king. Maradona, on the other hand, is ready to fight for real on the football field. In the 1984 Copa del Rey final while playing for Barcelona, when provoked, he slapped a reporter just because he thought he got a silly question. Crazy and more impulsive, Maradona shot and wounded 4 journalists with an air gun in February 1994. Maradona used drugs, was eliminated from the 1994 World Cup after only 2 matches of Argentina. He interacted with prostitutes and mafia during his time with Napoli. These very weird qualities of Maradona, of course, do not appear in Pele. That leads to the fact that, anyone who loves Pele cannot love Maradona and vice versa. If he has worshipped Maradona, it is clear that Pele is second. With Pele, Maradona himself did not hesitate to say that the Brazilian legend was bisexual when he had a same-sex relationship with a young coach of Santos club. This story has been controversial with outsiders, and Pele's close friend Celso Grelit has insisted this is a fabrication. Pele is noble when he does not respond to this, so in the eyes of those who like a serious lifestyle, they appreciate Pele more than Maradona. The International Federation of Football History and Statistics, IFS, has named Pele the best player of the 20th century. The famous magazine France Football once held a poll of famous players who won the Golden Ball on who was the greatest in 1999. The answer is still Pele. Football is like life, nothing is absolute and neither is Pele, but the fact that Pele is the king of football is really worth it. There were times when they argued with each other, but Pele and Maradona were also 2 close friends for a long time. They have met in real life many times and did not hesitate to compliment each other. Maradona himself, whether it was a passion or a moment of sincerity, once praised Pele as being better, and he himself could not be compared with the king of Brazilian football as well as the world. On the day Maradona died more than 2 years ago, Pele once confided, "I have lost a close friend and the world has lost a legend." There is much more to be said, but for now God give strength to his family. One day, I hope we will play together in heaven. Now that someday has come. Pele will be playing football in heaven with Maradona and many other legends such as Cruyff, Bobby Moore, Eusebio, Yashin, Garrincha, Gerd Müller, Paolo Rossi. Pele is gone, the passion stays. In the last 2022 World Cup, when the tournament in Qatar had not taken place, Pele's illness became serious. He was transferred to the hospice unit at Albert Einstein Hospital in São Paulo, Brazil, and the time to leave the temporary world was almost clear. The whole country of Brazil as well as the world's fans worried and prayed for Pele's health. But he himself, even though he knew about his illness, still sought to fuel the beloved Brazil national team. Pele wishes Brazil to play successfully and win the 6th World Cup in the history of football in the country of Samba. This ultimately did not materialize when Brazil lost to Croatia in the quarter-finals, but Pele passed away peacefully because in his meaningful life, he made football great, so that anyone who has loved the sport will remember Pele, as King of Kings, the #1 legend among the countless legends that football spawned go out. When he is no longer playing football, Pele has a talent of guessing where it is wrong. Even Brazilian fans themselves were worried that Pele predicted their team to win the World Cup. The only time Pele guessed incorrectly that the whole country of Brazil. Infinite joy was in 2002, when he judged that Brazil did not make any rice porridge at the World Cup in Japan, Korea. In the end, Brazil won the championship, and this is also the closest crown that Silico won. Pele kept guessing wrong, but no one blamed or hated him. They even eagerly waited for Pele to make a prediction to see if he was ever right or not. But that shows how much Pele is loved, and now everyone wishes him to find the love of football in another world. With many people waiting for him, as the late famous English defender Bobby Moore said before his death, "I am going to the Paradise team, and there, I will continue to play football. The passion will be endless, and this will be the immortal team in the hearts of the fans."